I'm Mimi G of MimiGStyle.com, a fashion and DIY blog where I teach you how to buy it, make it, mix it, and rock it. Today we're going to do a Mimi G for Bernina project. Let's get started. Let's talk tools. The first thing you're going to need to do is download the PDF pattern so that you can make either a mini iPad cover or a regular size iPad cover. It'll be big enough for your Kindle or really any size tablet that you might have. So make sure you print your PDF. You're also going to need some felt. Now you can use the same color felt or you can use two different colors, which is what I'm going to be doing for this tutorial. And you can use a half yard of any colored felt that you want. I prefer wool felt only because it holds up better and longer, and it just has a nice thicker feel than those less expensive felt sheets that you could get. You're going to need scissors, of course. You're going to use paper scissors so you can cut out your pattern, and then you're going to need fabric scissors to cut out your felt. You can also get some pinking shears. Now this is optional, but I will be using them at the end of the video to clean up my edges. You'll need some smaller scissors so you can get into the little corners of things when we start cutting out shapes. You're going to need some pins, some pattern weights or washers is what I use. You're going to need some sew-on velcro squares, and you can get them in a little package like this, and they already come cut into these small shapes, which makes it easy. You're going to need some Scotch tape, and then some marking pens, either a fabric marker or you can use a chalk marker. And of course you're going to need an iron and a sewing machine. You're also going to need a small piece of medium weight interfacing. When you print your PDF, you're going to notice that you're going to have two options. You're going to have one to make a large sleeve, and you're going to have one to make a smaller sleeve. I'm going to be using the smaller sleeve for this tutorial. So make sure and cut out your pattern. You should have two pieces. We're going to tape our pattern together, but before we do that, I want you to use your flap pattern and cut out a piece of interfacing. So lay your flap on top of your interfacing. And using your pattern weights, you're just going to cut one out. Now after you cut that out, you're going to make it just a little bit smaller, so you want to cut off at least a 1/4 inch. And we're going to use this to fuse it onto our felt. Now that we've done that, set it aside, and we're going to tape together our pattern. With your box printed facing up and your flat printed side facing down, use two pieces of tape and tape them together. Now take the first color felt, and with using a folded edge, you can see my felt is folded in half. I'm going to place my pattern on the fold. Use your pattern weights and lay them down. Making sure that the edge of your pattern is on the fold of your felt, cut around. Now when you open it up, it should look like this. Now what you're going to do is you're going to fold down your flap and on one side of your felt, right on that fold, you're going to cut off one side because we don't need both flaps. We only need one side to have a flap. Like that. Now you're going to use this to cut out the other color or the same color if you choose to make it in one full color. I'm going to be using white as my other color, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it flat. I'm going to open up my gray pattern and I'm going to put it flushed against one edge, and you're just going to cut this one out in white. Now don't worry if your cut edges aren't perfect, because we're going to be using the pinking shears to clean up any rough edges. Okay, set that aside. This is what you should have. Okay, first you want to decide which is going to be your main color if you're using two different color felts. My main color is going to be the gray. So on this crease that we have from where we cut our gray fabric, I want you to put a little pin there that's going to serve as our marking, so we always know where our fold is. Now I want you to lay your other color, or the same color depending on what you chose, right on top of that. And I want you to fold it, making sure that you fold at the pin. And just give it a quick press. Now the one that I'm making has a nice little cutout into the felt so that the other color is visible through the cutout. Now you can choose to skip this whole part altogether, but if you do want to make the cutout, I'll show you what that looks like and what we need to do. So as you can see in this pink example, I've made a cutout, and so you can see the gray through the pink. It's very cute. Now you can choose to do that, or like I said, you can skip it altogether if you don't want to cut out. But if you do, you want to make sure that your piece is folded up before you trace your cutouts. I got these little cutouts online. You can find them. They're free. They're just printable shapes. I cut one out and I placed it where I wanted it, not too close to the edge. And then using a marker, a fabric marker, which disappears, I just made a marking of where I wanted my heart. So that it looks like this. You can clearly see it. And you can choose to do a star or really any shape that's easy to cut out. And so what you do is you remove your top layer, because that's where your cutout is, and using a pair of smaller scissors, you want to fold right in the center of that design and make a snip. You only use that snip to cut all the way around your design. And just cut all the way around your marking. It should look like this. Now make sure, I just want to review this, make sure that before you draw your design on that you have folded it upwards. That way you don't accidentally make your heart upside down. Now once you've done that, I want you to place it back over on top of your white. And we're going to pin this in place so it doesn't shift. So get your pins. Making sure that both felts are aligned. You just want to pin around it. And then you're going to take it to your sewing machine and you're just going to stitch all the way around your heart. When you're done, your heart will look like this. Now we're ready to start putting it together. Now there's one more thing that we need to do before we take this to the sewing machine, and we need to press our interfacing onto our flap. So just open up your flap, get your piece of interfacing, and you want to place it so that it's right in the center. Remember, we made it 1/4 of an inch smaller than our flap, and then just give it a good press. Okay, so turn your piece over and lay your template on top of your flap. We're going to make a marking for our Velcro. So what you want to do is just make a little hole into the center. You can pull your pin all the way through if you'd like. And where that pin is, you're going to make a little marking. It's going to let you know that that's the center where we're going to be attaching our Velcro. Now, we need to fold this back up, so make sure that the edge is where your pin is, your folded edge. And then you're going to fold over your flap. And I want you to lift and see where your marking is. And using your marker, make a little marking on the other side. Now we know that's where we're going to be attaching our Velcro. Now that we've made those markings, we're going to pin all the way around and we're going to start sewing it together. So get your pins, and you want to make sure and pin so that your felt doesn't shift, because we're working with 2 layers. You want to pin at the top. Just give it a good press if you need to adjust. Now that we've pinned all the way around, we're going to take it to the sewing machine. We're going to sew on the first piece of Velcro. Okay, so you're going to take the non-fuzzy side of your Velcro and you're going to place it right over that marking that we made. You're going to sew all the way around it. Once your Velcro is attached, we're going to fold it using our pin as our fold guide. And we're going to pin both layers together. Starting at the top edge of one side and using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're going to sew all the way down. Make sure to backstitch a couple times at these stress points. Remove your pins as you get to them. Now I want you to turn it over and sew from the top down on the other side. From the bottom, and then we're going to sew our flap all the way around, also using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Go slow around the edges if you need to. Now we're going to sew on our other piece of Velcro to our other dot. So make sure and place it over the dot. And make sure you cut off any loose threads. Now that was quick and easy, right? So now that we have it all sewn together, we're going to give it a good press with the iron. And now what we're going to do is, using our pinking shears, we're going to cut around and clean up these edges. So that was quick and easy, right? Now all you're going to do is give it a good press. So lay it flat, give it a good press. Use a little steam. Turn it around. Now close your flap and press your flap down. Now it's all done. Now you can open it, put your tablet inside, and you have a custom-made tablet sleeve. Quick and easy, anybody can do it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.